Welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. If that doesn't make any sense to you, check out episode 8. Today we are in episode 2535. And we have a subject, a question here. Must I show thoughts? Now, this refers back to several different episodes in which I have talked about getting inside the reader, the character's mind, and letting the reader just focus in and hear more or less the reader, the character think. And this is a very effective tool. Well, this book I have here called Ezekiel Option, and I talked to you about it last episode. At that time, I was talking about the very opening line. Well, in this one, I'm talking about the idea of thoughts. And so I'm going to start out by going to I just put these I went through here more or less at random to find examples of what I'm going to talk about. So I am saying up here that you can still tell. And here is an example of telling in this book. By the way, the main character is John Bennett. The one I'm going to talk about right now is Yale, Yael, and she's been dead for several years now, but he's remembering here. Yale, God rest her soul, would have loved this trip, he knew. The ninth granddaughter of Iraqi Jews, his wife would have savored the irony of returning to the soil from which her family had been driven. She also would have enjoyed the intrigue of traveling with him for once in a shadowy career, this time from Tel Aviv to Istanbul, then to Cairo, then around the Arabian Peninsula before approaching the birthplace of civilization. Now, the author here obviously felt that putting all that into showing in the thoughts wasn't going to work. A lot of information there. But the first part here could have been the actually show. Yale, God rest her soul, would have loved this trip. If he had stopped right there, that would have been John Bennett's thinking. But he added, he knew. And so by adding he knew meant that now what's the author telling the story, the author's telling you what he was thinking, and very accurately so. But I think my own personal opinion would have been, and if I was teaching, I would point out that it's more effective if it comes across as actual thought. And then in my case, I would have used I like to use italics to represent thinking. But this is a good case where he has chosen to take, instead of showing the thoughts, he's telling. And he did a very good job about it. If it wasn't for me stopping and pointing out some things, so you probably wouldn't have caught that. It just flowed. And that is a very important aspect that we want to cover. Now, let's move on to another occasion here. And this is, again, this is a John, this is John Bennett, the hero. And he is being told he's in pain because he himself has suffered some beatings and stuff like that. We won't get into that. Don't want to spoil the book for you, even if it's an old book. It may be still available to read. I'm enjoying it. It starts out here. No. He refused to believe she was dead. They were lying. Gogolov was a liar. They were holding her hostage. He was using her as a bargaining chip. She was still alive, Bennett told himself again and again. She had to be. He couldn't live without her. In this case, there is italics representing the thinking. So I'm going to just read the italics to you. No, they were lying. Gogolov was a liar. They were holding her hostage. He was using her as a bargaining chip. She was still alive. She had to be. And the rest of that was author talking. Very good. Very well put together. and it came across to me as true and everything. And so, but this isn't what I've been talking about. Here, the character is thinking, and you, the reader, are right inside his brain, following the whole line of thought. You know what he knows, or at least you know what he's thinking at that point in time. So there's two different ways of doing this, and this author is actually doing both. And actually, the truth of the matter is, when you do other books, other characters in the book, rather, you're probably not going to use the thinking aspect of it. It doesn't it loses its impact when you spread it out over a lot of different characters. I would recommend two, no more than three. And very effective is just only just one. And if it's just one, I would make it the primary character. But in this case, it was something that he chose to do. This is what I would call a transition book, in that he has got the old ways doing it and a new way mixed, which is perfectly fine. And just remember this: so when you are telling the thoughts, you've got to be very careful. First of all, it's going to require some hard work. If you just John Bennett thought this, or thought to himself such and such, it may not come across as well as if you put some thought into it yourself and structured it correctly. So it does require a little bit of work, hard work. It also requires some skill. But the thing is, in this book, it shows both ways of doing it. And in both cases, it's the main character. Now, I would recommend that in most cases, when you're dealing with one character, you always show his thinking. If he's thinking, if it's going to be something you're going to bring out as to thinking, then let the reader in. You've already done it or are going to do it, so go ahead and do it. It kind of comes down to how much you want the reader to know. But my way of thinking, it's going to take a lot more skill for you if you are going to tell at one time sometimes and show it other times for the same character. That can get confusing. And last thing you want to do is confuse your reader. So I would say that he was 2005 was probably when that idea really was gaining ground. And now it's just considered normal that you show characters' thoughts. Now, your sub characters, your supporting cast, those you're not going to do that. I would shy away from letting them peek into their brain, because again, you can cause confusion, especially if it's in the same scene as your main character. You got to be very careful of who you choose to do the show the thoughts, and I would keep it. While you can do two or three in a book, I would not have them mixed together in the same scene. For in one scene, you could have where main characters, your thoughts. Another scene, you could have all three of them, but you have only one of the supporting cast see their thoughts. If you have more than one person's thoughts showing up, it can get confusing unless you have some way of identifying them. So I would stay away from that unless it's absolutely the way you want to go. And so then you don't want your reader to get confused as to who's thinking what, just like you do with conversation. You want to have some flags, have some pointers along the way, so that the reader knows who's doing the thinking or who's doing the talking. Same rules. So I wanted to spend some time on this today because this is a subject I've hit with you a number of times, and I just thought this book really shows up both aspects of it, actually. But it does require hard work. In my opinion, I think it's harder to tell what somebody is thinking, because you're actually having to interpret it and apply. And did you notice that when I read the different parts, this one part in the very beginning I read it only took one sentence here. It said, "Yea, God rest her soul, would have loved this trip." But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 more sentences that explains the background for that statement. And you sometimes you can do it. I have a thought that stands alone by itself. Sometimes you have to explain it to some degree. The reader chose it, a writer rather chose to explain it and give the background right then and there. That's a matter of choice. And he pulled it off. It worked well. So that's something I want you to understand. So you yes, or rather no. Must I show thoughts? No, you don't have to show thoughts. You can tell and you can show. You can even mix them, as I showed you this author did. But you got to be careful. Always keep your reader in mind. You, the author, know how you want things to be done. But if you're the only one who knows what's going on, you leave your reader confused. So you don't want to do that. So you can still tell, but it's going to require some work and some skill, which you want to acquire anyhow. This part is true. Your other characters are going to be mostly tell. You're going to tell people what they're thinking and what they're doing and so forth. And so you're just bringing them together into one character. That's the part where I get concerned, is when you're doing the show and the tell and focusing that on one particular character. That can be confusing. Again, take your time and make sure that the reader is not confused. If you can do that, it does take some skill. But when I'm teaching a course, say you're taking my course, I'm going to teach you the methods. I'll teach you how to show the thoughts. But you may decide, no, I don't want to do that. Then the coach in me is going to take and coach you on how to do it the way you want to do it. So the thing is, I give you the knowledge. Whether you use that knowledge or not is yours. I'm not going to be, I'm not a bossy type. I'm not going to tell you, you must do it this way. No, I'm going to teach you different things, but the choice comes down to you. And I think that you'll agree when you start taking the course and start running into these things that, hey, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I've been only writing since 2005 myself. I've got over 15 books that I've published, plus my wife's books. And now I've got clients that I'm in the process of getting ready to publish their books. So I've got a little bit of experience, and I'm giving it to you for free. And that is what this is all about, is giving you information for free that you can use now. And hopefully, if you are looking at this has been helpful to you. If it's not, maybe it's still confusing, go ahead and ask a question in the comment section. Or if you don't agree with what I'm saying, go ahead. Just keep it civil. No innuendos, no accusations or anything like that. Just a simple question, and I will do my best to answer it either there in the commentary section, or I might decide it's something that's worthy of a future podcast. Well, that's it for today. By the way, you have right there should be the opportunity to subscribe to my channel, TR Independent Books. If you do that, you encourage me. And what does it encourage me to do? To inform you, to encourage you, and to inspire you to be the best writer that you can possibly be. Like I said, I give you this information for free. It may cost you money to go elsewhere to buy some information, buy some tools I might mention, or buy this or that. But what you get from me is free. And it's something that I try to make it so that you can use it right away. If not right away, in the near future. Well, that's it for today. This is sponsored by Basic Authors Training and by Ministry Publishing, both services of TNR Independent Books. And I hope to see you in the next episode.